Oh, hi.
Hi. Don't forget Zencaster.
Thank you. And also another problem that I'm noticing
What's up?
with our
What?
Hangout.
What's wrong?
I don't like the sidebar the way it's currently set up. I'm trying to figure out if I can. It's doing it the old way where it shows all three cameras across the bottom all the time.
Ah, yes.
So
that's silly.
I'm trying to solve that.
Oh, boy.
But Hangouts is acting weird for me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's acting goofy. I don't have any. It won't.
Bum, bum, bum.
Not giving me any control right now.
That's a shame.
Pretty much a
Now that
bummer.
we've gone live.
Yeah, I don't want to stop it either.
So you can't even cut cameras?
I can cut them,
Oh, okay.
but I can't make it so that the three cameras don't appear across the bottom. Is what I really want to do.
How silly is that?
Fairly silly, I think. So we're gonna have to deal with that.
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
We should put a big Radio Tech Guys banner up over it in post.
Good. I've never listened to this song its entire way through, I don't think.
Oh, this is like the whole unedited version?
That is the full 3 minute and 25 second mix of our theme song.
I like it.
Written exclusively for the show.
That does duck the music like this much.
Well, that's me ducking it because you're listening to program now.
Gotcha.
This is all going on the Google Hangout, in other words.
No, that's fine. This is behind the scenes. By the way, for anyone listening, this is the behind the scenes pre-podcast recording.
There was an error loading my app.
Oh.
Wah,
Wah.
wah. All right, we're going to start this thing at 9:25. 9:30. That's a weird time.
It's going to be 9:25 in 20
is.
seconds.
Yes, it is. Let's do this again for now.
Boom-a-doo-ba-dum-bum.
Right.
At the sound of the tone, the time will be 9:25:00.
Checking the mail real quick. The mail bag at ask@theradiotechguys.com. No mail.
Once again, anybody who stumbled upon this live broadcast or the recorded broadcast, well, the recording of the broadcast. Well, anyway, if you stumbled upon this, this is the behind the scenes pre-recording of the Radio Tech Guys podcast, episode 5.
It's true.
We will start at 9:30, 9:30:00.
Also true. I'm also trying to fix it here so that this will autoplay.
Oh, good idea.
The embedded will autoplay on our website.
That'd be cool.
I don't know that that's an option.
By the way, that website is theradiotechguys.com. Wicca, 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 wicca.
Huh. I don't know.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What's wrong now?
I've got glitches.
Do you really?
My meters dropped off for a minute.
Well,
It's back. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
yeah, you sound fine here.
Good.
All right, 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Attention, affiliates. Not really. Not really.
So how are we working this time? Are you starting?
Yeah, so I'll kick it off, and then let's go ahead and do the how to reach us.
Yeah.
If you will do the by email, call in, Google Hangouts, I can do Twitter, and then how to listen to the show. That'll break that up a bit, and then I'll kick it to you. How you doing? Blah, blah, blah.
Wait, so you're opening, you're welcoming?
I will open, and I will do the little thing I told you about earlier.
Yes.
And then I'll say, hey, Chris, how can everybody get a hold of us?
I don't know. Great question.
Nobody's ever gotten a hold of us.
I don't know. Well, one person did.
Well, that's true. It was a big name.
It was a big name on the other line, for sure.
And we made him wait.
I know. Well,
That's show
it's the
business.
nature of the beast. He knows how it
That's
is.
That's right.
He's been doing it for like 70 years.
Mm,
Oh, that's
sorry,
no,
Kirk. That's not true.
not even close. Not even close. When are we?
The music stopped.
I know. It's because I didn't want to start again. It was
Oh,
gonna
that's fine.
Overrun the top. How when does Twort release? What do you remember? What day of the week they are?
I don't know what the release. I know that. I don't know
They
when they
record
release
Thursdays, but then
it.
when
Record
does it
Thursday
release?
nights.
Be nice to
I
know
don't
when that was
know.
coming out. Can we find it fast enough?
I'm gonna look.
You have 1 minute and 8 seconds. 1:08. Oh, I'll get the camera
Sorry.
off of you at this point.
Why?
I don't know.
Let's see. Podcast. About. I don't know that they have a set time.
Gotcha.
Might just go up once it's edited. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I don't know if they edit. I don't know. I know nothing.
Well, thanks for taking a minute to look at that.
Yeah, I tried. Oh, it's like we're 30 seconds out.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Friends and neighbors.
You'll roll the open first, right?
The music?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Nah, I thought we'd skip it. Are you?
Funny.
You don't have speakers on over there, do you?
I don't.
Man, I keep feeling like I hear things in speakers somewhere. Wait, do I?
I am out.
Do I?
Hey, it's time.
Do I? That's
30.
right. That's right. There's no matter.
Okay.
People are coming in. All right, here we go. Ready? Let's go to logo, go to open, and we'll do this thing. Here we go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone.
So I won't pot you up then until it's time.
I'll let you know. Hello and welcome to the Radio Tech Guys podcast. This is a podcast covering the tech that drives the radio industry. I don't know why I say it like that every single time. Something about it. I don't know. Hey, welcome in. So glad to have you. Before we really get underway, I would be remiss if we didn't take just a moment and send our thoughts and our prayers to everyone dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew. I've seen some pictures on Facebook and social media of some rather devastated studios and radio facilities. And obviously we worry about the staff and the friends and the family first, but once you know everyone's safe, obviously you mourn the loss of your studio. So we certainly want to send our thoughts and prayers and hope that everyone can rebuild and get back on the air quickly. Chris, hey, first of all, how can people get a hold of us?
Well, it's a good question, Alex. Thanks for asking. there's actually there's a plethora of ways, probably too many, for you to reach us here at the Radio Tech Guys podcast. You never have too many.
No.
Always email is an option. We have email address that we check regularly, and that is ask at theradiotechguys.com. Also, during this Sunday night hour here, beginning at 9:30 Eastern, you can call in live and be with us here on the program. And that number is 304-284-2020. It's 304-284-2020. If you'd like to call in and be on the podcast with us here, ask a question or make a comment or just say hi, we'd love to hear from you there. And also, you can always follow along during the same time at our website at theradiotechguys.com. There's a link there to watch our Google Hangout at that place. So those are the ways you can get a hold of us here in real time as we record the show.
Yep. You can also get us on Twitter at Radio Tech Guys. There's no the, at Radio Tech Guys. And on Facebook, facebook.com/the Radio Tech Guys. We want to hear from you. Get a hold of us. We're looking forward to it. You can always get our podcast. It's available on iTunes, the Google Play Store, and we are also on Stitcher. Stitcher has over 100 bajillion shows.
Really?
I verified that. That's a real number.
Wow.
And you can download it for free today at Stitcher.com or in the App Store.
They've really grown.
Overnight, in fact.
Amazing.
Our script says 20,000, but it's actually 250 bajillion.
That's amazing.
I know. Chris, how you doing? What's going on?
Oh my goodness, it's been a whirlwind here. Whirlwind. I feel like I say that all the time, but there's so many things always going on.
That's true.
Many that I can't talk about. One thing we can talk about, and we should talk about, I think, right out of the gate, is some pretty exciting news. I know we talked last week about having a call and some things to work out, and we had our call this week. And we are super excited.
So excited
to be joining with Kirk Harnack with This Week in Radio Tech to be guests on his program, not this week, but the following week, right? What day is that?
That's on the 20th.
That's right. We record with
October 20th.
Right. We record with him on October 20th. For that upcoming episode as guests on that program, which we're super excited about. We probably need to figure out what it is we're going to talk about, but
we'll figure that out.
Had a really good phone call with him and some ways that we can do some stuff together, and we're really looking forward to it. And so that's coming up for us, which we're pretty excited about.
Kirk has a great show. You should check it out. He also does his show live via video, and we'll make sure you know how to get not a hold of it, how to watch it on the 20th. We'll make that link available.
Absolutely. Yep, you'll hear all about it.
All about it.
So this week's topic.
Hold on.
What did I forget?
Do you want to know how I'm doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me tell you. That is classic fashion for me to just be like, let me word vomit to you about myself and not ask how you're feeling. I've had this. Well, yes, that is a known issue, so to speak. So why don't you, Alex, tell me about you? How are things going?
I'm fine.
Oh, good. Good.
No,
good.
You know what? Work is busy. Work is good busy. I've said this every week since we've started, but we have studio builds and we have more studio builds, and things are good. So can't complain.
Excellent.
Oh, and stick around for the end of the podcast. You'll get your beer and wine review.
Oh, yes, that's right. And they're interesting this week. Very interesting and dark.
Yeah.
HD radio, we wanted to talk this week a little bit about FM HD, specifically HD 2 and 3 multicast type. That's the wrong word. Multiple HD channels on your FM, and it's another one of these big topics. But I think we can just kind of hammer through some stuff here. You know, we've had kind of an interesting relationship with FMHD in our company, and that we adopted very, very early in a lot of our markets. So the original installations that we had, I don't know if you were even here yet, Alex, we had a lot of high level combining HD situations going on. So we had some really old,
I got in right at the end of that, I think.
Okay, probably when we were getting ready to do the upgrades in Morgantown again.
That's right.
So we had these systems in place where we had these really, really old, which is fine, but tube FM analog transmitters, and then we added on a digital. A lot of people did this early on, but we added on a whole separate digital transmitter, and then literally took their outputs and combined them, which was a terribly inefficient and lossy method for doing this. We had these huge space heater looking dummy loads that would sit outside, the reject loads that just, they were like a furnace. They heated so much waste there. And so we did that for a little while, and then as the things advanced, we kind of moved on to other ways of doing things, split level combining, and now low level combining, which is the most common practice, where everything is, the HD and the analog are built together in the exciter and then put through one transmitter and then transmitted as one thing. That's the current most efficient way to do it, and whatever. But the kind of our main guinea pig / biggest HD station that we operate is here in Morgantown, and we bought a new transmitter for that station, and I can't remember how long ago that's been. 6 years, maybe. It was right.
Has it been that long?
Hasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
It was before I got back, so I don't know. It's been a while.
I'm not sure.
It's been a while, at least 5. And it was in it was in this really weird time in HD's history where solid state was becoming a real legitimate contender for FM transmitters at higher powers. This transmitter site that we're talking about is a 20 kilowatt TPO, so it's a pretty significant size transmitter, especially if you're going to do HD. So solid state was becoming a real thing and was a viable option, but its efficiency was just still not quite the power efficiency where it needed to be. And so before I got back, the decision was made to go ahead and put in a tube type transmitter. It was a Harris branded at that time, the HPX 40 transmitter. Well, there's so much that goes into this. So we were trying to do higher HD power levels and whatever. And so there's, as with most things in life, there's a trade-off when you start putting this kind of energy in the sidebands right adjacent to your analog carrier. A lot of funny things start to happen. And we chased our tails around with some what we thought was signal issues for a while, but really ended up being self-interference that was kind of caused by these higher power sidebands and just an old tube that wasn't nearly as linear as it needed to be. And there's complications to it. Okay. So HD adds a whole nother level of things to that. We're going to kind of get into some of those as we go.
I remember the night that we got in your car at I don't know, midnight.
Drove to Washington, Pennsylvania.
Drove an hour north.
Mm-hmm.
Called Rick, our engineer, and said, "Okay, turn the transmitter off."
Yeah.
Okay, turn it back on.
Yeah. Scientific. Those were our scientific field test nights.
No test equipment in the car other than a radio.
Our radio. That's not true. That's not true. We had the.
That's right.
We had that little.
Had that Automat
Aztec
yes.
Explorer. Yeah. Anyway, fascinating. Yep. So there's a couple things I wanted to talk primarily. I have some audio examples here I want to play for you guys, but I really wanted to dive into kind of the how we're deploying HD and kind of experimenting in some of the options that you have to choose. Like I said, everything is a trade-off. So there's a handful of decisions that you can make here where you're making decisions on the pros and cons and how it's going to impact your specific setup. So in HD, you're basically talking about 2 digital sidebands that ride on either side of your main analog carrier. And that it's basically data bandwidth, one-way data that is transmitted, and you've got a couple options. In its standard mode, they call it MP1. You end up with 96 kilobits per second of data space to use for all of your things, meaning you can split that pie up among just one HD for your main program, HD1, your main channel's HD. Or you can split it up and add an HD2 or an HD3, and you can do all that on. It's just a matter of splitting this pie. In addition to the audio bandwidth that is required in that pie, you also have other things to think about, like program associated data, your pad data. And if you're doing audio experience, or not audio experience, the artist experience stuff with album art.
Hopefully you're experiencing the audio.
That should be everywhere, all with you all the time. If you're doing the artist experience thing, that takes some additional bandwidth that we'll have to factor in. But most times your transmitter manufacturers or the folks at Tag Station Next Radio can help you get that all configured. But There's another mode that we've started experimenting with, at least in Morgantown, that will give you kind of an additional like 24 kilobits per second to play with in an extended sideband. But the trick is that the sideband isn't extending further away from your analog carrier. It's extending like inside towards your analog carrier. And that's called MP3 mode, and it ends up giving you 120 kilobits per second instead of 96. So you gain an additional 24K, which is kind of a big deal. I'll put a link to this. I found a pretty good table today from hdradio.com, from the engineering section of that kind of shows you various configurations that people have used to break up the FM HD bandwidth. We've experimented too, but I have a philosophy that I am now going to proclaim from the hilltop here about the challenges with breaking this bandwidth up the way that they sometimes recommend. So the way we run ours, we are using MP3 because we have our primary HD station, which is a top 40 format, and then we have our HD2, which is a rebroadcast of our local AM news talk in the same market. So that's obviously a mono station, but then we're also on HD3 running another music channel. That's another station that's pseudo in market, but is kind of signal challenged. But we've opted to also run it in mono. And the way we break this bandwidth up, this 120K, is we reserve 64 kilobits per second, which is more than half of the bandwidth for our HD1. And then I'm running 24 kilobits per second on HD2 and HD3. Both we've opted to go in mono, just to get rid of some of the compression artifacts that exist there. And you might say, well, that's not 120K. That leaves you 8K short. Well, it does. Because we've reserved the additional 8 kilobits per second for artist experience that we're doing on both the primary and the HD3 channel. So we have full album art, station logos, all of that good stuff currently available on both of our music stations, HD channels on this station. Here is why.
I can't believe I don't know why that baffles me that you can do that with 8 kilobits per second.
Yep. And you know, the trade-off is it's slow. The trade-off is that it's slow. That's part of the reason that it's
not especially slow. I mean, it
depends. It also does some caching. The receivers do some caching.
Oh, okay.
You've heard horror stories. We've heard people say,
yeah,
I drove my car. I was in Cleveland this weekend, and now every time I tune to this radio station 101.9, well, we just gave it all away. I see this image from Cleveland, and I say, well, did you happen to listen to a station on 101.9 and HD station?
Yeah.
Oh, I did actually. Well, there's some that's not an exact science yet. There's still some problems with that technology. So there is some caching and stuff that helps it. But so logic would say, well, man, it seems like you should run your other music HD channel in stereo at least. Why can't you give it some more bandwidth? You're at 64 kilobits on your main. Why can't you take a little bit? Here's the problem. That today's analog FM sounds so good. Like when it's done correctly, I mean, with like the perfect, and frankly, we have an instance in Morgantown where it's just about perfect. The perfect signal path. Like it's, you know, it's audio over IP all the way into the processor. And then it stays in the digital domain and goes into your exciter. It's still digital till it hits the like modulator of your exciter. In today's processing and just today's transmission and just everything, analog FM is so good that the last thing I want to do with the HD brand that we're trying to sell is when the car receiver blends to HD for it to suddenly perceive to sound worse to the listener. Like that, to me, like they say, oh, this isn't, I don't want this. This is stupid. It sounds worse than the main station. In fact, we have some samples that I think now would probably be the best time to play that kind of illustrates some of these sounds. So I recorded this stuff. I recorded this stuff earlier today, and for people who are watching on our Google Hangout, just off of the headphone out of this little Insignia HD tabletop radio. I don't even think they make this model anymore. This is one
I was just looking that up. I don't think they do.
Yeah, this is the NS-HD Rad from Insignia. I don't think this exists anymore. I had to dig up double A's to put in it and whatever.
There's a new version of it. There's an updated version.
That's cool.
The NS HD Rad 2.
Oh, the 2.
I'll
have to look it up and see what's changed.
For a whopping $50.
Well, there you go.
That's good.
HD radio is affordable. To listen to, not to produce.
Right.
I recorded it off of that. And so first thing I wanted to play for you here is a sample of the first thing you'll hear is our station's analog carrier, and then you'll hear the blend to HD. But I wanted to take a second just to listen to compare AB. When you're comparing them, you ignore the little sample of the blend. It's kind of hard to do, but it's pretty impressive how good today's HD analog is compared to the HD side. So this is analog. And there's the HD.
You are the one thing in my way. You are the one thing in my way. You are the one thing in my way.
So that is HD1, 64 kilobit per second stereo being processed in our same processor that does our analog box. It's an Omnia 11. One more time, let's hear the analog to the digital blend.
One thing in my way. You are the one.
So that's HD1. Another thing to point out at this point, it's important, I think, to use the same box to process your analog. Some people don't, honestly. Some people have their FM processor that maybe didn't have the HD capability when they bought it, didn't want to replace it, put a smaller DAB type processor in place because you're not required. I mean, there's less peak limiting required. You can get cheaper boxes basically to process just the HD. But I think the downside to that is, how in the world do you make them sound even remotely the same when it blends?
Yeah.
You don't have any signature characteristics of anything. So I definitely think using one box is the way to do it. You've got your diversity delay built into your processor. You can do everything right there. That's the way to do it. So that's a 64K example of what our HD1 sounds like. This next example is a 24 kilobit mono stream of our news talk in Morgantown. This is just being processed honestly by one of those channels. We have an Omnia 8X Axia Livewire processor that's basically 8 little Omnia 3 processors in one box basically, and we're just using one of those channels to process this. So this is news talk at 24K.
Keeper off that, which Fitz executed pretty well. He executed the fake pretty well, and there was no one near him. So look for that in a tight situation next time around.
First down and 10, just inside of midfield.
So clearly you can hear some of the artifacts at the top end.
Approaching 5 minutes to play in the third, 17-13 Steelers.
In that processing, I'm taking the I'm just rolling the top off at like 10K or something, just to get some of that extra top end off there. That's really hard for the algorithm to process without getting all swimmy and whooshy. That's technical.
Swimmy and what?
Whooshy. That's you got it. The technical. Right. That's the technical term for the coding artifacts. Swimmy and whooshy. Maybe you've met them at a variety show.
Yes.
Anyways, that's that. And then here's music at 24K mono.
But I'm sorry, before you play that, I mean, the other benefit there is the HD2 is an AM that's in our market. So, I mean, that sounds so much better than AM does anyway.
Oh, exactly. It's inherently better.
Even with the artifacts.
That's right. It's better there, but it's also better in that our AM in Morgantown at nighttime is 500 watt nighttime. Yep. So you get the FM's massive footprint coverage. We're at minus 11 dB insertion also. For those of you who don't know what that means, that's virtually our analog footprint coverage area is also covered by our HD, and so it's a massive footprint for that station. Here's an example of music at 24K mono. This is a station that we're bringing in from about, how far is it, Alex? It's like 40 road miles 40 road miles away. They have a little bit of a signal limitation into the northern end of the metro market, and so we've put them on HD3 here in Morgantown. And this is an example. We'll tell you how we're getting them here and all that here in a second, but this is an example of 24K mono music station.
It's on them,
Look no further. Clarksburg's trend news station for the greatest hits of all time. The new Sky 106.5.
That's not bad for 24K. I wish it was stereo, but there's other factors at play in this one's audio chain that you would have to take into consideration. There's other weak links. we didn't want to spend. No, I should take it back. I wanted to spend a lot of money. Corporately, we did not want to spend a lot of money on getting this program line up to the Morgantown market to put it on HD3. So we this was really our first experience with Barracks boxes. We basically got their I forget what they're called. It's their 500 series. It's an importer and exporter box.
One.
X Streamer. I don't know what they're called. Something like that.
Right.
The 500 series Barracks box. We put one at each end, and we're just using mono MP3. I think like 64 kilobit per second stream up to this box in Morgantown, and then from there at our studio facility, it goes into an Axia Livewire node, and then I'm using another one of those Omnia 8X processing lines just to process it, hack off the top end, and just do some pretty basic three band processing, and then it comes out a digital node at the transmitter site into the importer, and then it's there.
The other problem, though, with these, not with the Barracks boxes, but with how we've implemented the Barracks boxes, we're sending these across the public internet, or sending this stream across the public internet. We have protected bandwidth between our sites, but this particular building where this station is, the most we can get cost effectively of protected bandwidth, MPLS bandwidth, is a T1, essentially 1.5 megs. So we had to put this on the public internet, which doesn't necessarily affect the quality, but we do have occasional hiccups, and I think the technical term for that is Goebbels.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you're following my lead on the technical terminology of the show tonight. So that's that's our HD3 solution. That's how we're getting it up to Morgantown. And so I'm sorry, I'm distracted by things that I'm reading on the screen. It's okay. So that's how we're getting that. That's how we're getting our HD3 up there. So the other thing I wanted to mention that is kind of along the same line, since we were just talking about how we get things to the importer and the exporter and whatever. If you've done work in HD, really regardless of who the equipment manufacturer that you're using is, there's really just a handful of components that are required to do these multi-channel deals. Obviously, you need an exciter in your transmission network that is capable of producing and is authorized by formerly Ubiquiti, but now I forget HD Radio to produce an HD carrier. So that's part one. You also need an exporter if you're going to do just an HD1. That's the only additional piece of equipment that you need. But if you're going to add an HD2 and 3 and 4 even channel, you need an importer. And these are all individual pieces of hardware, computers basically, in various rack mount cases and however they come to you. Those devices all talk to each other over IP as well. I'm not going to step on your IP subject here, Alex, but this is one thing that I wanted to mention, which is going to actually transition into your piece. But it's that when I first configured these at the VAQ transmitter site, I just put all three of those devices in with everything else on our Livewire network that was up there. And that didn't work great. Part of the problem is there are that stream that's coming from the exporter into the exciter it's another one of these very time sensitive, very packet sensitive audio. I mean, everything's embedded in that stream. It's not an audio stream. It is a data stream, but it's time critical. And with it's
just like Livewire. I mean, that's a data stream that's time critical.
That's right. Different protocol, but same deal. And it didn't like playing with the all of the stuff that exists on a Livewire network. And so what I ended up doing is separating the exporter, exciter, and importer. They just all kind of have their own little subnet that is private. It is just those devices. And then the importer is the only box in that chain that has two network cards in it. They're not bridging. There's no traffic passing between that private, HD transmission network and our Axia network, but you can access the importer from our other side and then see things, on the transmission side. That solved all of the problems that we've had with packets in the transmission side. So there's a lot that goes into all of that. We could probably pick some of these individual topics for later episodes and really drill down and probably show some examples. And that's a couple of good video options. Probably is configuring your importer and how we're doing all that. But that's kind of the big picture overview. The takeaways would be pay attention to how you're splitting up your bandwidth. It matters, like in terms of the sonic quality of your thing. Think about processing, please. Keep your analog FM and your HD1 in the same box if at all possible, so they have some sense of coherency and they sound the same when it blends between them. That's a big deal. And your HD1 needs to sound as good or better than your analog, because otherwise we're killing the brand of HD. And then think about your processing on your HD2s and 3s and make sure if you're not going to use, there's some special stuff out there for those really bit reduced streams that I think all of the major manufacturers are making now. I forget off the top of my head. Is it Nexus? I forget what it's called in the Gates Air world, but it's we've demoed it. It's pretty incredible. But if you're not going to do that, at the very least, get some processing where you're able to really kind of tailor the top end, the high end, the really high frequency stuff where those artifacts become very, very evident, and do the best you can there. And then there's lots of IP considerations too. And I know Alex is going to kind of talk about some of the IP related things that we're doing up there at the transmitter sites.
I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me ask you a question.
Please.
I don't even know if it's a question. I'm going to make a statement first. So when we started implementing, real HD radio, I didn't have an HD radio in my car. I didn't have one until, I don't know, 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a Ford that had an HD radio in it. And just within the last couple months, I had the opportunity to drive around the Pittsburgh market. And every station up there is running HD. And there was one, and I forgot to capture the frequency, but they had 5 HDs. They had 5 HDs running.
Is that right?
They were all music, and they all sounded really good. And I don't know how they did that.
Well,
but it was really good. Now, side note, what I don't understand, like all 5 of them were the same format. They were all like oldies, classic stuff, and it was peculiar, but they all sounded really clean. I'm sure they were mono. I didn't have enough time to really notice whether or not they were, but
well, I'm very surprised. I don't know that I've run into a case where there's someone who's had 5. I don't even know. I don't even have looked technically. I mean, I'm assuming that's including their HD1. I know. I see some configuration examples for having 4, including your HD1. But even in those best case scenarios with extended sidebands, you're looking at like 32 kilobits per second, which is half of what we're running on our HD1 in Morgantown. I mean, I guess if they were mono, you might not notice. Hey, I don't know. I saw this on an episode of This Week in Radio Tech.
There was somebody on from Nautel. I don't remember who it was.
Gary Leibich?
Nope, it wasn't Gary. It was somebody else. But anyway, I hope it was Nautel too. That'll be embarrassing if it wasn't. But anyway, they had they were talking about something they were experimenting with. I don't think it was available yet, but it was some new algorithm to basically extend the number of HDs you could have essentially infinitely, obviously with limited bandwidth, but
sure.
Anyway, that fascinated me when I tuned to that station and saw 5 numbers come up.
Well,
thought, holy cow.
I'm doing some research right now. If in fact you can do it too if you want. If you go to hdradio.com, there's a find stations link at the top. You can search for stations near. It'll show you all of the additional channels also.
Oh, cool.
And what I'm thinking to say to you is that I think your Pittsburgh example may have been experimental.
None might have been.
None are listed here as having 5.
That's interesting.
4 is the most that I've seen anywhere. That I've seen anywhere, and that was on. Well, there's a couple actually in Pittsburgh with 4. HD. Anyway, all of that to say, you can bet without any question that these stations with 4 channels are using extended sidebands.
Sure.
And if one other thing on this topic, and then we can move on. If you're going to use, here's the other trick with extended sidebands, because they come inward towards the main analog carrier, which sits in the center, and then there are shoulders that come down, and then the digital carriers start on either side. Because they come further in and kind of encroach in that space, the analog carrier space, your modulation of your analog carrier becomes even more critical. Sidebar, I wanted to tell you the problem I had earlier today with some of HD3 breakup. HD3 for us is the one that lives in those extended partitions on the inside. I would like to suggest that what I was actually experiencing at my home was self-interference from being slightly overmodulated on our analog carrier.
Oh, yeah.
And being program content specific, what that modulation was at the time. I think I was self-interfering and losing the HD3. Anyway, all that to say, if you're going to run those extended sidebands to grab that extra 24K, you might as well plan on being legitimately legal on your modulation. And I'm saying less than 105% peaks, or you start to expand past your 75 kilohertz deviation of your analog carrier, and you'll really start to crunch into your data on the sides, and then it just won't work. Whatever's in that inside partition just won't work anymore. And I think we were experiencing that today. I want to do some more experiments this week. That's the first time I've thought about that. But I would like to go out and intentionally over modulate and see if we can reduce the reliability of that HD carrier, or vice versa, come back to strict 100% and see what that does to the side.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yep.
It's an interesting thing.
It is.
I mean, all forms of transmission I think are fascinating, but then these sidebands are just, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy that it works.
Yep, I agree.
Crazy that it works. I don't have anything real high level to say. I was going to mention, and this is probably a good time, Chris, if you want to sort of tease one of our latest videos.
Sure.
So we did a video at the transmitter site that we keep referencing that this HD is functioning from, and you'll see a lot of the components that we've talked about and various other things. But in that video, you'll notice this kind of goes along with our IP audio talk as well from previous weeks. But we carry our LiveWire network up to this site via an 11 gigahertz radio, and we have, I don't know the actual count. We probably have 15, maybe 20 devices in that building that need to get on the network in some way, shape, or form. We only have 1, 2, 3 nodes, and then an Omni 11 that's actually carrying LiveWire. You have to have, if you're not using the Axia branded, the X, what do they call those? The X node switches, the Axia switches. Anyway, if you're using Cisco switches, you'd have to have a Cisco switch up there to handle the LiveWire traffic, but you don't necessarily need a 24 port or 48 port Cisco switch that costs bajillions of dollars. In our case, we use a small 8 port Cisco switch. And in addition to that, have, if you're watching the stream, you saw it just now, we have just a, for lack of a better term, dumb Netgear switch that comes off of that Cisco switch. The essential traffic, all the LiveWire traffic, comes off of the Cisco switch that we can manage. But then we take a port and jump it up to this Netgear switch that we have all of our, I guess I can say non-essential network devices, web UIs for various things, phones, access points, all that kind of stuff can run off of this Netgear switch. So that's an option. An 8-port Cisco switch is far cheaper than a 24-port Cisco switch. That can be a big cost savings that you can dump towards other nice toys. That's all.
That's valid.
Yeah.
Yep. That's good
Saving
stuff.
money.
Yeah. Why use expensive switch ports when cheap ones will do?
Yep. Now, I wouldn't by no means am I saying run around your studio and put a bunch of dumb switches out. But in this case, it's kind of the end of the network. and this is just to grab a few ancillary devices. So, having one of those on your network isn't a huge deal.
Sure.
Don't do it everywhere.
Right. No, heavens. Make your network administrator crazy.
Yes.
That's good stuff. So
Yeah.
we should mention that there are some videos. So there's that transmitter site video, which if you're seeing when the podcast release on Tuesday morning, it just released the day before. If you're watching this YouTube video on Sunday night, you haven't seen it yet. So the video will be
in the
out.
future.
Yeah, exactly. That's one that's put up. We also have another kind of cool one that was just put out the day before that, which is a look at one of our older plants. We keep showing you all the cool new stuff. If you want to go see one of our our 19-year-old studio facility that's about to get an IP audio upgrade.
Yep.
There's another YouTube video on our channel that you should subscribe to in order to see that one, which is also pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yep. And so those are out. Yeah.
Those are all those are good things. So check out, go to our website at theradiotechguys.com and look for our video links. If you don't, for some reason, want to go to the website, you can search for us on YouTube with the Radio Tech Guys, and you'll find all kinds of cool videos. I did a little video on how to terminate Cat 6 and 5e. I'm one of about 200,000 videos that show that. But if you really love my charisma and you want me to teach you how to do it, you can watch our video.
And let's be honest, who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Everyone wants to see that.
Doesn't.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Alex, it's time now for our
Ooh, I can't wait.
the best segment of all time, the weekly beer and wine review segment.
We need a sounder for this.
I know. I need to come up with some good music too.
All right. This will get better.
So we'll do that for next episode. But for tonight, it is just me saying, here's Alex with a look at his beer of choice for this evening.
Beer and wine. Okay. You want me to go first?
That's why your camera is on.
Oh, jeez. All right. This one is dark. The beer's not dark, but the label and the name is dark. This is from Flying Dog. I have never had anything from them. It's from Flying Dog. It's called Bloodline. The reason it's called that is because it's a blood orange ale. And a blood orange is a real fruit. So that's not just an unnecessary adjective. But it's very, very citrusy. A lot of hops. It's a little bit hard to drink, but it's also 7% alcohol by volume. So I'll drink it.
That makes it easier.
If you're watching the video, look, that's a dog with blood on it. And that's a dark label.
That is a bloodied dog if I ever saw one.
It's bizarre.
Gross.
Yep.
Well, my wife was kind enough to pick up for me something that I had not seen before. So you have young children, Alex.
I do.
Do your kids ever get those like they're not juice boxes. They're almost like little baggies with
like the pouches, right?
The pouches of fruit. Like that they're squeezable.
Fruit.
They have like a white plastic lid that comes off.
Like the applesauce and stuff like that you can get. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this container reminds me of that. It's a hybrid between that and like the milk carton that you would have got in school. This is a wine cube. This is that's actually the name of the company is Wine Cube. I don't know if you can.
Oh, look at that.
It's a cardboard. It's it's 3 glasses of wine, 500 milliliters in this little thing. It's just a cab. But I'll tell you that it is actually pretty good.
Huh.
I didn't ask how much it cost in terms of its price. Yeah. Oh, it's a Target brand. So this was from Target.
Hey, I've had some Target ones that I like.
This was from Target, and I do like it. I really am enjoying that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's actually very, very good. 13% alcohol by volume. I'll have to look it up and see the cost. But yeah, it's
okay. That carton, the carton reminds me of something, and I need to ask the whole world, since everyone's listening. The whole world is listening. Does anyone remember? This has been driving me nuts for years. Domino's Pizza, if you ordered delivery and you could order like a drink with your delivery, not like a bottle, they would bring you this cardboard carton. It was almost like a milk carton of whatever you ordered, and you'd like punch a straw through it. Does anyone remember that?
Really?
Please email me because I feel like I'm nuts.
I don't remember that.
I can't find a picture online. It was great, and it changed the flavor of whatever you drank. It tasted like waxy cardboard, but man, it was such a thing when you ordered pizza.
Are you sure your mom didn't just put like soda in a cardboard container?
If she did, God bless her, because it's a good childhood memory.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So
well, that's good.
our format sheet, Alex says we should tease what's coming up next week, but we haven't talked about that. So let's not tease that, but let's do tell folks
that you should listen next week.
Absolutely. And we should also tell people that they should email us their comments and questions this week.
Yes.
Definitely at ask@theradiotechguys.com would be a good place to do that.
They don't even have to be nice.
No.
We can handle it.
No.
Give
And
us your thoughts.
Well, and also be great if you wouldn't mind subscribing to our podcast on iTunes or Stitcher
Yes,
or the Google Play Store, and visit us online at theradiotechguys.com. Yeah, that's about all, Alex. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you tomorrow.
I was going to say that. Okay. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye-bye.